So today's video is who is Phil Jalovec? So welcome, thank you for coming to my channel. This is the first video I've ever made. And today is gonna be really about who am I? So you can get to know who you're watching. Like, should I listen to this dude? Does this make sense? Does this resonate? And I'm coming to you right now from Medellin, Colombia. I've been here for nearly a decade now. I'll tell you how I ended up here in a minute. And who am I really quick before we get started? I'm a short, bald dude from Wisconsin who loves life, is passionate as hell, loves salsa dancing, loves driving my truck fast, listening to Mark Anthony and plant medicine, ayahuasca music, spending time with my friends, laughing, joking around, going deeper into my own personal development journey, which has been now 15 years of who am I? What does it mean to be a man? And helping other guys understand the same thing. Because my perspective on what it means to be a man is important for the purpose of this channel, and also it's kind of irrelevant because it's who are you as a guy. A lot of people that consume this content, it's made much more so for men. My audience is men. A lot of people that consume my content are women. So I talk about predominantly a few things. Love and relationships, sex, dating, health, and healing, and how those are uniquely related. If we haven't healed I'll get into it in a minute, but more about who I am so you know who you're watching and more about what the channel is. So as I mentioned, I'm from the Midwest. I've been in Medellin, Colombia for nearly a decade. I had a Colombian girlfriend in Chicago for about a year. We broke up at a seminar, personal development soap opera. Broke up at a seminar, got back together 3 months later at another seminar. She had moved back to Colombia for the first time in 25 years, probably it was. I moved from Chicago a few months later to Bogota, Colombia. And within less than a month, we broke up for good. I felt like an absolute idiot. I sold everything I owned. I got a remote coaching job. Again, this is like 10 years ago. And I was thinking of moving to Latin America while we broke up. And I ended up moving there, getting back with my former girlfriend at the time. And after a month, I'm in Bogota from Chicago, and I'm like, Bogota, it's cool, it's not that cool. The weather is way better than Chicago. Maybe I should stay. I keep hearing about Medellin. And I got to Medellin. I'm a short white dude, again, from Wisconsin. I'm not sure. I have very green eyes or hazel eyes. I'm looking around, not knowing what's safe, not speaking any Spanish. I had Lyme disease and mold poisoning at the time. I'd have all these weird health symptoms. And I was on my path of understanding what it is to be Phil, what it is to be a man, to navigate relationships, to learn about relationships and apply things, and then also go, I'm becoming this integrated guy and embodying things, but I'm also screwing stuff up and I'm trying to fix it and all that fun stuff. So I started in Colombia. I'd done a lot of, you name it, seminars, meditation, coaches, retreats, home study courses, Tony Robbins, NLP, Abraham Hicks, meditation, all this different stuff. And after about 6 months of being in Medellin, I went to an ayahuasca ceremony. And I'm actually sharing with you, even though you're not here, 2 medicines tonight. If you wonder why my cheek is swollen, I did not get punched in the face, even though I do like boxing. This is mambe, and then this is ambil. This comes from the coca leaf. It has like a coffee-like effect, kind of, a little lighter than that. And this is tobacco. And tonight, me introducing myself, treating this as, in English, they call it like a word circle, like a sharing circle. So sharing a bit about life and a bit about me. So I'm sharing these 2 medicines with you, even though you're watching this from your phone or in your living room or wherever it is. So I got to Colombia and getting out of this relationship and going back and forth and having love for this girl and going, oh my gosh, this is again a decade ago or so, and being conflicted to say the least. And I'd been here about 6 months. And I still felt pretty damn conflicted. And long story short, I'll save that for another video. I bumped into a guy and I go to this ayahuasca ceremony or 2 ceremonies, and by the first night, it really shifted my perspective around the relationship. And I knew that was someone I was supposed to meet and grow with. And it was like I was able to move on. I didn't understand it intellectually. And after those 2 ceremonies, it put my life on a different trajectory. I don't have the ability to edit it. It's in my ayahuasca documentary, which I'll post here as well. It's a picture of me standing next to a shaman holding my face like what the fuck just happened? Like, this is not like a book. This is not a mastermind. This is not a seminar. And it was so profound. And I'll talk more and more about healing and plant medicine on here, especially ayahuasca, other medicines like mushrooms, kambo, bufo, jopo, or yopo as they call it in the States and the West. And coming down to Latin America put my life on a totally different trajectory. Why that's important to talk about is who I am is because I wouldn't have been the same dude. And there's a few environments that put my life on that trajectory, and it's getting into deep meditation, tantra, which a lot of people think that is sex. It can be. Should be probably in traditional tantra a very tiny part. It's really about the presence you have to life, to yourself, being in love with the moment. So a lot of these practices are self practices. They're not some kind of thing where you're meditating and chanting and chakras and all that great stuff too. So the medicines, the breath, tantra, and then meditation have been these tools that have been super different for me. And for me, it's really, there's a clear before and after that. And I'd like to say I'm so smart that I took ayahuasca and I just changed this person, and it's been progressive. You know, I've worked with ayahuasca, wasn't planning on talking about this much, but here we go. This is totally unfiltered. Worked with ayahuasca for now, in a couple months, it'll be 8 years. So I haven't been to ayahuasca for about 6 months. I'll be at ayahuasca next week. So a bit about me, I'm someone who's really passionate about life. Like, see more about that. I think words are irrelevant. See how people are. Of my health, my body, my liberty, my biohacking, going to the gym, boxing, lifting weights, doing yoga, doing Agascu, eating healthy. I've been a self-proclaimed biohacker for a dozen years for sure. If you look at all the funny stuff I'm seeing in the background in my kitchen that I've imported from the States to get down here. And that's part of who I am and part of what this channel is about. Also, my journey of relationships and sex. And I'll combine those two. A lot of us as men, we are participating in something I accurately and affectionately refer to as forced monogamy. Meaning, as a young guy, let's say we're 18 or 20 years old, we could think about having a girlfriend, but the way our body is leading us is not leading us towards monogamy. It's like, oh my God. I wish men and women, because I think it should go both ways, could trade bodies for a minute. Because men think women have a 28-day cycle. That's kind of true. That's not really true. It's many cycles, at least 4, more like 11, depending on what belief systems and research you subscribe to. And guys, it's like, how do I navigate testosterone and sex? Like, we're like Labradors, like, especially when we're that young. And that's part of what I'm gonna be talking about here a lot is love, relationships, and sex. And our evolution and our choice to evolve as a man is what that means. You know, so part of, sometimes we take events, things in our life kind of for granted. Like, we've lived really cool things. We did things as a kid. We were the quarterback of the football team. We traveled. Or our life was just so boring. That was unique how boring it was. And now it's time to have some fucking fun. That could be it too. So part of what I want to share here is my journey as a man, and also what that means about my healing journey. A lot of that is plant medicine, and also relationships and sex. So going back to us as guys going through this stage of forced monogamy, thinking we have to be monogamous to be in a relationship, especially when we're young, our body doesn't lead us that way. Or guys get older and they want to appease mom and they want to have kids, and then they cheat in a different city, or they're addicted to drugs to get some of that energy out, or porn. So there's a leak. By the way, this is not this video is not about polyamory, even though we'll touch on that in a moment. But there's this unease of, is this who I am? Do I feel free in this? Do I really want to do this? That's a stage that I've, like I said, affectionately referred to as forced monogamy, that all of us as men have went through. If I ask a 20-year-old girl about wanting a boyfriend, she can tell me like a Disney story, right? A guy, he's 20. If he's really honest, he's like, "I'm gonna hear me." Like, he'd want to be Dan Blazarian for a month for the summer. So our hormones lead us different ways, and our souls and our hearts lead us very different ways. And it's, how do you get those things to get on the same page, get on the same frequency? And yeah, more on that in a minute. So we have stage 1, which I, like many men, like you, and many other men and women that are watching this, we've went through stage 1 of forced monogamy. Hey, I got to do this. I don't know how to navigate relationships. There wasn't exactly a owner's manual in high school. And sometimes that phase lasts in high school. Sometimes it comes later in life. And then we go into stage 2. Maybe stage 1 was having a relationship in high school. And phase number 2 is going wild sexually and exploring in college. It could be, for me, it was drugs, sex clubs, prostitutes, 3-ways, 4-ways, thinking I was going to be more deeply fulfilled the more women I slept with, which it was a lot of fun back then and it taught me a lot, but it leads to a ton of emptiness. And that's part of my journey, even though that's not who I am or how I live anymore. But I'm open to talk about it, and I'm no longer embarrassed or ashamed of how I once behaved. Sometimes we can have a lot of, especially culturally, a lot of sexual shame, or I shouldn't have done this, or what would religion say? So again, we have phase 1, forced monogamy. Phase 2, going wild. That could be polyamory. I have a lot of thoughts on polyamory. Save that for another video. A lot of thoughts, because I've experienced it in open relationships. And then as a guy, realizing there's something more to life. To go, all right, I want to get married. Well, the red pill community says you shouldn't, because it's like, who cares? A lot of that stuff is bullshit anyways. And have a family. And I think a lot of people, even if they think they're polyamorous, they can be monogamous for the right person, especially when they first all really know who they are. And that's been a big part of my journey, is going through these three stages, going from sex club and drugs and prostitutes years ago to about 1.5 years of almost solid celibacy, to being in a monogamous relationship for 1 year, to coming out of that, navigating some things and reflecting on things. And that's been in the last couple of years. And then going back into this new process I'll talk more about later. So this is really about it's about content I want to share, which is about health, dating, relationships, love, sex, and healing. But also a lot of this just comes from my honest life experience. Like things that, as someone sitting down on a Wednesday night to make their first YouTube video, like, you do have the thought, like, should I share this? And I know in my heart, the answer is absolutely. And is it here for me to dump all my emotions and gossip on YouTube? That's not at all what this is about. But it's to go, I'm a dude who's wanting to become better. And as I'm learning, I'm falling down at times in years past and making mistakes. And I can think back to a relationship from a decade ago where I started to have a good understanding, and I'm almost 40 now, be 40 very soon, of what safety meant to a woman 10 years ago. And I did my best to provide that back then. And then I got to a different point where it's like, I'm kind of conflicted emotionally. Let me not talk to anyone about this, like a men's group or a coach. And then let me feel really internally like conflicted, right? And then let me just not tell her anything and not really handle it either, and hope that'll make her feel safer. And for the women that are watching, you already know. For the men, some of you might know, that produced the exact opposite result. So a lot of this comes from just life experience, as it should. And again, finding my path with the plant medicine and how that shifted things so much. I almost felt silly, and I went to all these seminars, I worked with coaches, I did this stuff. I hadn't really done healing before plant medicine. So I have no illusion that everyone should do plant medicine, because you probably shouldn't if it doesn't call to you. And if it does call to you, it's a good time to answer the call. And all the medicines are different, but there's so many modalities to heal. And part of this is to make a safe space for guys to heal. Because for guys, and I'm just going to speak bluntly, like the things that people say, the judgments that come up in our own mind, like, well, if I'm doing this healing stuff, oh man, that makes me weak. That makes me gay. That makes me a pussy. I'm not being a man. And for some of you ladies tuning in, if that sounds colorful or offensive, I can appreciate that. And it's not meant to be that way, but it's these things we hear that we have in our psyches for years or decades of what our manhood is. And a big part of this channel is like sharing my content, sharing my heart, and also telling you this is what I've actually experienced. You know, as a guy, it's like, all right, I want to be strong and solid and healthy. And then sometimes as guys, we think being strong is never feeling our feelings, never talking in a men's group to our feelings, never processing, never digesting our feelings. You know, which those things ideally should be done first before bringing it to the relationship so we can navigate them. And we push things down. And that's been my journey in the past, pushing down my emotions, having girlfriends after the fact tell me, hey, you're not processing your emotions, you're doing this, I know you're a good guy, you're trying to help, and it can be frustrating as a guy. And yeah, man, in 2025, it can also go, what does it mean to be a man? Like, again, might be my own bias. 10, 20 years ago, we had two main genders. Now it's like, what is a man? What is a woman? Teach their own. This, channel and what I'm sharing is lived experience of what it is to be a man, dating women, and navigating life. As a guy, as you're watching this, there's something bigger in you that you're here to give. And it might be one thing for the rest of your life, and it's probably not. It's probably an evolution of things. And for me, it's going in my journey with myself, navigating that, the pain of that, the healing of that, and the things that have come out of that, which have been healing, health, love, relationships, and sex. And navigating what that looks like, especially in a time, my own experience, like I mentioned, from years ago to drugs, prostitution, sex clubs, to then trying to balance it and going, okay, that part of me is wild. That part of me is bad. And wasn't planning on talking about it. I'll even talk about that now. Like navigating years after the fact, being abused by a Catholic priest in kindergarten and blocking that out of my memory and having that come back and healing that and realizing, how did that shape me? How did that shape how I viewed myself, what I was worth in a relationship, financially, all kinds of stuff. And, I was talking with a friend recently, and I've got a couple different opinions. Like, we shouldn't really open up, we shouldn't really be vulnerable. And it's interesting navigating life as a man with vulnerability in a relationship. It's, where are we at with it? So for myself included, or those guys and gals that are watching, is being on the other side or processing, feeling, understanding those things, and then sharing those, whether that's sharing it with your friends in your living room, putting it on YouTube, sharing it in a relationship. Where a man's emotions and vulnerability are messy is when they haven't been processed. And I've been both of those guys in the past, where I haven't known how to navigate that and was sharing my feelings and lost my center and the exact thing of the love, trust, and safety I wanted to provide in a relationship. After a while, months, years later, it's like, I'm doing the exact opposite. So also, this is life experience. And when I say life experience, I mean errors. I've tried many things. I've tried most plant medicines. I've also tried most drugs. And navigating that, sharing that, and part of my intention and my hope for this channel is for guys not to do the same thing. And for some guys to do the path that calls to them. Meaning, some guys want to play the field. I was just talking to a guy tonight and he's like, oh, I'm dating this girl and it's serious, but it's not serious. And should I just go sleep around a bunch? And we haven't talked deeper yet. Maybe he should, because that would serve as long as he's telling the truth. And maybe he really needs to confront himself because the boy wants to come out and the king's afraid to step up to the plate. So navigating manhood as someone in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, especially 30s and 40s in 2025. I said I wasn't going to talk about what this channel is, and it's turned into that. And again, things about me, I've been passionate about my spiritual, personal development journey since I've been 24. My first seminar, first getting into this stuff. And I'll be 40 in about 60 days. And my unique cocktail of things that don't really mix together or don't mix commonly. Like I have a bunch of weird organic food and a parasite detox. And then I have salsa music and I have shamanic music. I just went to the concert. It was amazing, by the way. I'm going to another one from a different guy Saturday. No ayahuasca, just music. And lifting weights, boxing, shooting guns, drinking ayahuasca, dancing salsa, enjoying life, living life, having fun, laughing, telling jokes, spending time with my friends, loving my family, dating women, not at the moment, taking a break, have been for a while. And again, sharing lived experience. I was talking to someone about a year ago, and it helped me to see myself a little different. And I was talking to someone and they were like, well, you just haven't read books. I'm like, well, I've read a lot. It's like, yeah, but you went through this thing of, we were dating, it's a while back, of going through the traditional route as a man, going wild, and then coming back to something different of this integrated, monogamy, celibacy. And I'd never seen it that way before. I just thought, people are kind of on their path, and sometimes people need to walk that path of an adventurous, wild lifestyle. And some people read books. I just find if you read about Shiva and Shakti, that's great. If you read about meditation, that's great. If you read about plant medicine, that's great. If you read about exercise, that's great. But when you go do something, go try something, go be scared, and that's been part of my path. They're my friends. I'm just like, I guess this stuff's just coming to me. She's like, you're your own guinea pig. You jump into the deep end of the pool. I'm like, yeah. Like, why would I do it any other way? If I'm going to talk about something and say, hey, I've heard this book is good, I've never read it. Someone asked me yesterday, what books do you recommend on shame? I'm like, none that I've read yet. These are the processes and things like that. So this is a bit about me. Again, Phil Jalovec, almost 40 years old, coming to you live or recorded in Medellin, Colombia. A passionate, bald dude from Wisconsin that loves many things. Tuning in for this video, and a bit about who I am spilled into what this channel is about, and a lot more to share, because this is a much more natural format for me on YouTube for 10, 20 minutes than Instagram, even though it's going to be a lot on both. Thank you for tuning in. I think that's all I have. I feel like something's coming through me. And yeah, as I wrap up, whether you're a guy or a gal or a couple watching this, a reminder that you're not alone. I think more than ever, we have so many options, so many things, which is awesome. You have a supercomputer in your pocket. I'm talking to you on one right now. And it connects us to everything, and we can kind of feel disconnected at a time like this. And if this channel, if who I am, if this message resonates with you, and even if it doesn't, you're not alone. There's people out there for you. And all the crazy shit, all the bad shit, the pain, the breakups, the stuff, the physical challenges, I've been there with my own stuff, the losing money, the people dying, getting hurt, that all those things, and maybe you're in a painful moment right now, maybe you just had a breakup yesterday, maybe you're not sure what you should do, or you're pregnant, you don't want to be, or you just got someone pregnant, all those things are leading to you to the person you're becoming. And in the moment, it can feel like it sucks. And also, we get to pick what things mean in the moment. That a breakup can be good. Going bankrupt can be good. And just, I don't know what, that just popped in as I was sharing this, to remember that you're not alone. First of many videos. Tuning out, Phil Jalovec. Thanks for tuning in. Ciao.